So, well, thanks for joining us today on Productive Agent Podcast. My name is Rob Aubrey. We have a really special guest today, Richard Smith. Richard is he's the owner of Remote Assistant Scouts, right? And so what they
Yep.
are is Remote Assistant Scout is essentially a headhunter for virtual assistants for real estate agents and loan officers. So if you've ever thought about hiring a virtual assistant, which I recommend, I did. I'm actually a client of Richard's. That's how we met through other channels, but I've hired Richard and quite pleased with the hire that I have. Really, really great. And so I'm just going to turn over, Richard. So tell us more about your company, who you are, how you got involved, how long you've been doing that kind of stuff.
Sure. Thank you, Rob. Yep, I've been the owner and CEO of Remote Assistant Scout now for about 7 years, but actually have been hiring virtual assistants for going on 11 years now. And over the years, basically what I've done is helped hire virtual assistants for realtors and loan officers to, help them get acquainted with a virtual assistant. And so then I decided, hey, why don't I make it a business? I can help even more people.
Right? It's kind of how we all got in business, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what does that look like? Let's say I'm a real estate agent. I come to you and say, Richard, I need help. What do I do now?
Yep. So the first thing that I always suggest somebody does, let's say you're a realtor and you're thinking you need help. Well, first and foremost, you've got to know exactly what you're going to have that person do. I've had so many people that have hired virtual assistants with the idea of, yeah, I need help. What do
Right.
I do? You hire a virtual assistant. And then they've got a new employee starting, and I did this myself. I have a new employee starting, let's say on Monday, and I'm like, oh man, what am I going to have them do? So the first step is to always create a list of exactly what that job description is. What are you going to have them do? And man, I tell you, having somebody make outbound calls, we call them freedom callers, right?
Right.
Somebody to make outbound calls on your behalf is just amazing, amazing. So we've had realtors and realtor brokers who have hired virtual assistants, and I think don't they call them ISAs, right? It's basically
Yeah,
the
I say inside sales agent. Yeah.
Yep, same thing. And they have them not only call past clients, but calling and recruiting, whatever that goal is. But initially, like I said, you want to write down exactly what you want that person to do and how long it's going to take. And so you're building out that action plan, building out that job description of exactly what you're going to have them do for you.
Right.
So yeah, that's the first thing I think.
Yeah, it really helps to know, it's like any plan, right? If you don't know where you're going, how are you going to get there? Or any road will take you there, or something like that. There's a couple old cliches to that. Yeah, I think it's very, very important to know exactly what you want them to do. Yeah, a lot of people in the real estate industry, when it comes to training, and you have to be ready to train them. I mean, you have to be ready to take the time
Right.
to sit down and spend an hour or two at a time to walk them through specifically how you want to do it. So typically in the real estate industry, and I'll say real estate agents and loan officers, when we're busy we practice what they call seagull training. I don't know if you ever heard of seagull training. That's where you swoop in, make a lot of noise, you crap all over the place, and then fly away. That's called seagull training. And the thing is, you may have a very, very talented person in front of you, but if you seagull train them, they're going to get frustrated and it's not going to end well.
Right.
And if you train them, they'll do what you want. And I think the key is, make them part of the team, make them feel a part of a team.
Yes.
If you have team meetings, include them in there. They just want to belong. So,
Exactly. And yeah, I want to touch on that training too, because this is what's really, really cool. Let's say you hire that virtual assistant. They're going to come, you know, when you're looking for the right person, you're looking for somebody that has experience in what you're wanting them to do. So let's just say you're a realtor, you want them to make outbound phone calls. You want them to be able to run and operate your CRM. So let's say we find somebody that has years of experience on making calls and handling objections and really working the phones great, but they don't necessarily know your particular CRM.
Right.
What is cool is we're hiring people with not just experience, but with great attitudes. So you don't have to be the one to train them on the CRM. They can literally train themselves. They can go to YouTube, they can find the right trainings, they can learn how to do it. My VAs literally know more about my CRM than I do. They tell me, hey, why don't we try this and that? And they're finding out new ways to utilize it. And so it's finding that right person where, yes, you do have to initially train them, but they really know how to train themselves. And that's a big difference between having the right person and not having the right person.
Yeah. So we heard it as capacity talent versus cul-de-sac talent, right? I don't know if you ever heard that expression.
Yep.
The cul-de-sac is a real nice place. It's really pretty, but it doesn't go anywhere. That's cul-de-sac talent. Capacity talented. I always say there's two types of people, right? Those that go, well, I don't know. And then the other type that says, well, we'll just figure it out.
Yeah.
And then we'll just figure it out crowd is who you want in your organization.
Yep, you're 100% right with that.
So they'll just figure it out, and that's what you want.
Yeah.
You don't want what I call the Pac-Man person, right? So the Pac-Man person is they just gobble, 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 gobble until they hit the wall, and they sit there and they chew on the wall until you literally like turn their head,
Yeah.
Like you don't want that person. You want that person that says, hey, they call you the next day and say, hey, you know what? I figured out a better way to do this. And you're like, sweet, Yeah, like I actually hired somebody, her name is Christine with Richard, and I'm really like, she's really talented. No, she does. I don't have her doing calls for me. She does a lot of other things, but her resume really, really shined on a lot of, marketing and technology stuff. She has a bachelor's degree in multimedia communication, multimedia marketing or something.
Nice.
I'm like, when I look at it, she's like WordPress, which I use, that's what I use. So I'm like, I was ready to hire her without interviewing her. I interviewed her and like hired her on the spot. So, and they train, you guys actually do some training, right? If they're calling and things like that, tell us more about your training.
So we do initial training, we do expectation calls, we do initial training. You touch on a really good point, Rob, that usually when we're going to hire somebody, let's say you listening as a realtor, you want to hire somebody, you want somebody that's better at those activities than you are, because two things. One, when you're doing those, you're not good at them because you're good at sales. But two, more importantly, is you should be focusing on prospecting and sales while that virtual assistant gets that busy work done, whether that's, your social media or putting flyers together, all this busy work, putting together the email marketing that goes out with your CRM. This is stuff that we need in our business, but we don't need to be the one doing it. So you make a great point with that. And the majority of our VAs that we help hire for real estate agents, they're not just qualified, but most of them have college educations. They have experience in the things that we're needing help with. It's not just making phone calls, it's admin duties. It's running our calendar, running our emails, taking the busy work out. I know a lot of realtors that have a virtual assistant as they're doing their processes with their clients. What is that? What's that
Transaction coordinating?
Transaction coordinator. Yeah. So there's just so much you can get them to do. I always think about, I was taught a thing to do years ago is get a piece of paper and split that paper in 3 columns, right? The first column is things I'm really good at. The second column is things that make me money. And the third column is what do I like to do? So you're thinking about writing all the stuff that you do down on those 3 columns. Now, you might have cold calls being, I'm good at it. I can make money doing it, but I just don't enjoy it, right? I don't like doing it. Or working on social media, I'm probably okay at it. It brings me money. We all know that, but I don't enjoy it. So, but meeting with buyers and having listing presentations, I'm good at it. I like doing it and it brings me money. The things that fall into the all three categories, that's what you should be doing. The things that don't fall into those three categories, somebody else should be doing.
Right. First, so it's really four columns, right? The list of items is column A, or column one, whatever, column A, and then things that I'm good at is column B. Things that make me money is column C, and then column D would be I really like doing it. So then you want
Yes.
to put a check mark next to each one of those items, and then put a check mark next to that, and then the ones that are all three you should do, and the rest not.
Yes. Yep. And then it's funny because you'll find some things with no check mark under money, like it's not bringing in money. So just stop doing those things.
Right, just stop.
Yeah, but there's so many things that fall into that. It brings in money. I'm not good at it or I don't like doing it.
Right.
And there now you have your list of what you need a virtual assistant to do for you.
That's awesome. Yeah. And one of the things I learned the first time I ever hired an assistant, and I've had some that were good and some that weren't. But one of the things I learned that was I was able to increase my customer service level to like world class, because when you're an agent running around doing everything, we'll get the job done, but there's not a lot of, warm fuzzies going on, right, with a client. Sometimes they just need to be handheld. And like when you're busy, you're out showing houses. I don't have time for that. But when you have someone answering your phone and they coddle them, they call you up and you just say, here, this, that, and that. Boom, they get them back on the phone and they coddle them through the process.
Yep.
That's bringing your customer service up a high level. And the cool part about that is some of the best marketing in the world is world-class customer service.
Yes.
I mean, that's it.
Think about this. You're a realtor. You're working with a buyer, you're showing houses, or you're at a listing appointment. During those times, you can't answer your phone because you're giving the respect to that client that you're with.
Right.
So what you do is you forward your calls to your assistant.
Right.
The assistant answers the phone. I don't know if you ever heard this, Rob, there's a stat that says like 86% of people that call a realtor, if they get voicemail, they just call the next realtor.
Right, they don't leave a message, right?
Yep. But if they get somebody on the phone, doesn't have to be the realtor. If they get somebody that says, hey, Realtor Jane's in an appointment right now, let me take your information. I'll get you, have her call you back immediately, blah, 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 or whatever. Right. They're going to wait for that call back. They're not going to call
because they spoke to somebody, right?
Exactly. So yeah, that's a tweak that you can do. Just forward your phone while you're in appointments and you're not losing out. Think about the amount of money you leave on the table when you don't answer your phone. It's crazy.
Yep. I remember years ago, I posted on Facebook. I said, there's this new thing about, really increase your production. It works on all the, I forget what it was. It went on and on, this whole litany list of things. And then, click here. And I just created a Google Doc page that when they clicked on it, it opened up a Google Doc page and just said, answer your damn phone.
Yeah. It's hard though.
It can be a challenge, right?
It can be a challenge to answer your phone because you don't want to answer it when you're with clients.
You're in a listing. I mean, you can't answer the phone.
Or even more importantly, when you're doing prospecting, which is by far the most important thing we do day in, day out is.
Right.
Have you ever heard that statistic that what's the average, and I'm not picking on realtors, this is loan officers, this is any salesperson, but how many hours a month do salespeople make outbound prospecting calls a month on the average in our country?
I would say average on them. I don't know the stat, but let me guess. I mean, it depends. If they're self-employed, not a lot. If they're employed, maybe, maybe 2-3 hours a day. They're actually outbound calls.
Well, let's say they are self-employed, which most realtors are,
Realtors and LOs, yeah.
and LOs and insurance. I mean, this is all different sales, but it's 15 minutes a month is the average.
15 minutes a month.
It just shows you we don't prospect, and it's
No.
hard to find time to prospect when we have all this busy work to do.
Right. And that's what so it's not just call reluctance is something we all have.
Yeah,
If you're busy, call reluctance will creep in and cause you to do the busy work.
exactly.
I wrote a white paper one time called Pavlov's Paperwork, and I'm not going to give it away. I'm actually going to do a podcast on that one. So I'm not going to.
Nice.
Yeah. So I won't give it away because that'll be, because I mean, I can do, a good 15, 20 minutes on it. But yeah, no, that's awesome. So there you go. There's another stat that says, and it's both listing and sellers, listing and buyers, right? And I think the percentage was maybe 0.5% difference between the two, but it came out to be like roughly 2/3, 66 or 67% of all consumers, both buyers and sellers. Like I said, it was a hair difference between the two, but 66%, meaning 2 out of 3 interview one agent. And like you said, 85% will just go on to the next one. So
Right.
2 out of 3 means if you can get to the table 2 out of 3 times, if you can just get to the table, you got a 2 out of 3 chance of getting it.
Yeah.
And the same, like, because they talk about, I don't show unqualified buyers. Well, yeah, you shouldn't show unqualified buyers property, but showing them one house, I never considered that showing unqualified buyers. I always considered that lead generating.
Right.
You went out, you got in front of a buyer, you built rapport, you went back, you regrouped, you got rapport with them, then you start, and then you get the process. So that's
Very
awesome.
nice.
So you said, so you do like expectation training. What about like calling training? Is there any, what other kind of training do you have?
Yeah, if you're gonna hire your virtual assistant to do phone calls in addition to some of the other things, we do that initial training. We train them, provide scripts and things, but we train them on initial calling. But here's the thing about that. We're not going to hire or connect you with somebody that doesn't already have that experience. So they're just going to get, the training's really going to be what type of calls are you going to make for us? Because they're experienced. It always reminds me of in the United States, teenagers' first jobs are always retail or
food, my son was bagging at the grocery store.
Yeah, fast food or grocery or food. In the Philippines, it's call centers. Like they learn how to handle phone calls. They learn how to make outbound calls, handle objections. So they have that skill embedded in them. So they just need to know what type of calls you're going to make. Again, most of them have experience with making calls for realtors, whether it's calling on expired listings or calling just leads to try to secure that appointment for the agent. There's so many types of calls you can have them make, which most realtors, like, I don't know any realtors that love calling expired listings. It's not fun because you get hung up on, and
I love prospecting.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I'm one of those sociopaths,
That's awesome. But yeah, I
really do. I like it. I'm good at it. And
it makes you money. Yep.
Yeah. Years ago, before dialers, and it was back when it was 7-digit dialing, we'd have 2 phones, you had 2 landlines, and we'd have 2 headsets, with one ear. So I had the microphone. So we had 2 headsets, microphone each. We'd dial with the right hand. On the second ring, we'd start dialing with the left hand. We'd have 2 phones ringing at the same time. We just, we did a tick mark that way and a tick mark that way, which, looking at the number, sometimes you hung up on 2, sometimes you talked to 2. It's pretty funny. But
that's awesome, though.
I learned the sales,
So you knew about phone burner before it was ever invented.
Oh yeah, that's what we were doing. Yeah. So that was back when I was coach with the Mike Ferry organization. It was one of those, where the coaches are like, I got this one agent. He said he tried it and it worked. Then they tested it with a few other agents. They liked it. Then it became like standard procedure to train everybody in the organization. Nice. So you had this whole, hundreds of agents around the country wearing 2 phones,
Yeah. It makes me think about a lot of people in our industry. You'll hear them say, well, I tried hiring a VA. It didn't work. And one of the biggest mistakes that I made when I first started hiring VAs, and especially what a lot of realtors and loan officers make, is it's just finding the wrong person. It's like
Right.
anything. If you get the right person, you're gold. If you get the wrong person, it's
Oh yeah.
not going to work. So that's kind of where we help realtors find that right person with our vetting process.
Right.
It's so important to get the right person.
Right. Because I remember I had an interview. Who's the guy I would have interviewed with? What's his name?
Probably Omar or Gerard.
Yeah, I think it was Gerard. Well, I don't know. Both names now. Now that you're saying both are for me. So I interviewed. They had a good questionnaire for me. They had me. They asked a lot of questions. I don't remember if I filled out something online,
Yep.
but but then I had this long interview process, and then they sent me like 6 resumes, and then I sift through the resumes. I looked through their experience level, their education. So what do you send? You send 3 things, right? There's one that's a resume itself,
Yep.
and then and then there's
So we
an
send
audio
a voice.
recording of them.
Yeah, we send a voice recording so we can hear how their voices are. And to be honest with you, there's a lot of great people in the Philippines. We're very picky. If they have an accent, we don't hire them. We're looking for, they're
There's always
representing
gonna be a
us. We have
slight
to be real
accent.
careful.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
always a little bit of a slight accent.
Yeah. But so is everybody else in the US now. So
Yeah, right.
it's fine. And then we also, so we give the resume, we give the voice recording, and then the disc assessment. And
That's what it was.
that's a
Disc assessment,
strength.
right? I remember there
Yep.
was 3 things. Yeah, so they each get a disc, and if you're not familiar with the disc, I recommend you go do one for yourself and then
Yes.
read up about it and really learn about it, and so that when you see a disc, because you want to hire, typically you want to hire a disc that's opposite of yours. Would you agree with that?
I agree 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so what happens is you interview somebody and they're like, "Oh, I really like that person." Well, they were just like you. Now you got 2 people. Now you got 2 people creating paperwork that's not getting done.
Exactly.
It's like you don't need that.
So yeah, you make a great point. If you haven't taken a disc, take a disc. And I
Right.
know you can go to Tony Robbins' website and take a free disc.
I think they changed theirs where it got a little weirder.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. What's the other guy? The guy that's out of Utah. What's his name? Workman. Dale Workman, is it?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, just I would Google Workman disc test. I mean, they're out
Yeah.
there. They're all over the internet.
Yeah, there's a lot of disc. You can Google disc assessment and there'll be a link to do it for free.
Somewhere,
And
right?
but yeah, I agree with you. Take a disc because you do want the opposite. Most realtors, they have high D, high I, low S, and low C.
Right.
And so you're looking for somebody with a lower D, a medium I, and a high S and C. You want somebody who's very organized, very good, detail oriented at what they do. And so it kind of counteracts what you are. If it's the opposite, if you're a realtor that has a low D&I, then you need somebody to make those phone calls. Because if your D&I are low, you're
Right.
probably not making prospecting calls. So you got to get somebody to help you with that.
Right. Somebody's got to make the calls.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, keep it opposite of you. Because you have room in your organization later for people like you. But the
Right.
first thing is you got to get your organization under control.
Right.
And the first thing I always say, because you know what you want them to do, you think about things, I need to do this, and that. And like for me, I have like certain things I need to do. Like I have certain emails that go out, that I send out training to agents we have the Tuesday training agent animals. And so that's a system. They got to go here. And because I have my own meme created, so we actually we have my meme. So
Nice.
we transpose the information in there, and then we post that on Facebook. We got to get this information, build the email, send it out. It's got to go out by a certain date. And we've been playing with the times, playing with the open rates and everything. So, but the first thing you do is like when you know what you want them to do, then you have them write it all down step by step in a manual.
Yes.
First thing you want to have an assistant do is create a manual. And you want to train them with the idea that, in my organization, I plan to grow. And this is if you are, obviously. If you plan to grow, to say, look, I plan to grow, there's room, there's opportunity in my organization. the job, this is what it looks like in the future. Now, I'm not going to give you any of those jobs. You have to command them and take them from me. You have to come in and say, I got this job and I will do it better than anybody. And if that's who you are and that's true statement, you have the job.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give anybody the job. They have to come in and take it from me.
Yep. And not just that, you're giving them an opportunity.
Right. Opportunity for growth, because talent wants opportunity.
Yes.
If they're happy doing this mundane work with no possibility of advancement in the future, you probably don't want them to be one of your key people. I mean, you could maybe hire that person in the future to work for your assistant.
Yeah.
But that's not somebody who's going to help you lead the charge. You need somebody that can take over.
Yeah. And a lot of people ask or make a comment that I don't have time to manage somebody. And you don't, there's a difference between micromanaging
Right.
and managing by expectations. So
Right.
if you can give good, clear quotas, what your expectation is, what you want them to do every day.
Right.
And then you manage them by an end of day report. And that's part of the training we do, that we require an EOD report. So the end of day report, they send you every day at the end of their shift, and it tells exactly what they accomplished for that day. If it's outbound phone calls, they're going to tell you how many calls they made, how many talk tos they had, how many appointments they set, how many leads or referrals they got in, and then whatever else they accomplished for the day. So you're managing them by expectation. And so if you don't have time to manage somebody, you really don't need to, if you get the right person, that is.
Right. Yeah, you just have to take the time to get them up and running.
Right.
Like I meet with mine every morning at 8 a.m. just because we're still in that phase where,
yes,
I mean, I give her certain tasks to get done, and as she completes those, I come up with more ideas, because we're doing a lot. I have her doing a lot of things. We're going systematically going through all my social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. I have 2 Facebook pages besides my profile. I have a LinkedIn personal profile, and then I have 2 LinkedIn business pages. Same thing. So, so I have 3 personal profiles and 6 business pages on, 3 different social media platforms. So we're systematically going through and making everything look alike,
yes,
where, now everything looks alike, same thing, like she's building, and not all of them have that kind of multimedia marketing skill that this gal does. But everything, she's really making me starting to look good. And
yeah,
when she completes one, then I'm like, okay. And so she doesn't know I got like 5 more projects waiting in the wings. And every once in a while, I'll pull the curtain back and let her peek. And she's getting excited because, oh, wow, we got these more jobs coming. Because right now I only have her working 4 hours a day. But, the goal is to get her up to 8. I just don't have 8 hours yet, but we're
right.
moving to that soon.
So
Yeah,
you make a good point there. How many hours can they work? It's up to you, whatever you're needing.
right.
Some people hire 2 hours a day. Some people hire 4 hours a day. Some people hire 8 hours a day. It's whatever you're looking for.
Right.
What can they accomplish in the time frame that you give them? And when we vet out and match you with the right VA, we're ensuring that it's somebody that's also looking for the amount of hours. Like our expectation is they're going to work for you forever, and you don't want them to leave because they're helping you grow your business. They're helping you have more freedom. So we're looking for long-term commitments when it comes to that.
Right. And that's what I want. I said at least 3 to 5 years,
Yeah.
If we go longer, great. But I mean, I'm not looking for somebody that's got their eye out the door.
Exactly. And when early on, you made a really good point as far as you want them part of the team. Have a daily or weekly meeting where they're part of the team. If you're meeting with, let's say, a transaction coordinator, once a week,
whatever, right?
invite them in. Yeah, they want to be part of that team. They want to feel wanted, and yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times because people, because the salaries are a lot lower in the Philippines than they are here. So, and what happens is, and it's kind of natural to do it because the salary's so low that you kind of like think of them as a byproduct, and now they're not important but the truth is, they're, even though the salary's low U.S. standard, they're actually doing well in the Philippine standard. But if you bring them into your organization and treat them like one of the gang, their loyalty is beyond belief.
Yes. Yeah. And right now, a VA in the Philippines you can get for $5 to $7 an hour, but because the cost of living is so different, that's equivalent to about $25 an hour here.
Mhm.
So it's a win-win. It's a win for them because they get to make great money and they get to work from home.
Right. They
So
get to
they
work
have
from
that
home. Right.
freedom. And then it's a win for us
Right.
because the cost of living is different, and that's good for us because we're only paying out $5 to $7 an hour.
Right. I'm paying $6 an hour, and I have a gal that's got 2 bachelor's degrees, college educated, smart as a whip, speaks
Amazing.
English. I mean, and she's happy,
Yep. It's
So,
really amazing. It's a great opportunity for everybody.
yeah, in the Philippines, the biggest industry is they call BPO, which in real estate that's broker price opinion. But BPO in the Philippines means business process outsourcing.
Right.
So all business processing outsourcing is their biggest industry. I mean, we're hiring the independents, which they kind of like that. A lot of the, like you said earlier, their first job, out of college, because they all go to college, their first job out of college is they go work at a call center somewhere, big giant call center with hundreds and hundreds of people.
Yeah.
So they learn how to make calls. And the other thing is too, if you get somebody, don't expect, 8 hours of calling. I mean, because you're not going to make 8 hours of calling. I mean,
that's too much.
The call is brutal. I mean, if you can get 2, 3 good solid hours, and call it a good and give them other tasks.
Exactly.
That's my advice.
Yeah, I agree with you. And break it up. You could have them work 2 hours of calls and then an hour of working on something else and then an hour of phone calls, and break it up and don't overdo it with the calls. Yeah.
Yeah, no, because it doesn't work. I mean, nobody's good at it, because after a while you just got to start getting what I call contactitis. You're just like dial blah 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 blah. Great, no objection handling. I'm not interested. Okay, they're on to the next one.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. So, well, that's pretty awesome. So, is there anything I didn't ask you, Richard?
I think that's you. Yeah, we talked about pretty much everything. I'm sure whenever I talk about it with people, there's always a ton of questions. So we're always open for answering any additional questions that somebody has.
Sure. So if somebody wants to learn more, what should they do? How do they get a hold of you?
So the best process and the quickest is to set up a strategy call where it's, no obligation, doesn't cost anything, just to talk about, answer questions, talk about a VA, how it could help you, just a quick strategy call. Okay. And they can schedule that at remoteassistantscout.com.
So remoteassistantscout.com.
Yep.
Okay. And then they can
sign up for a call. Yeah, they'll sign up for a strategy call. And if somebody goes there right now, within an hour or less, they'll get a phone call and they'll set up an appointment.
So somebody from your organization will contact them.
Yep, quick.
Great. Yep. And that's what it's all about. We've all been there. And again, back to the answering the phone thing, because we all know what it's like to, call somebody, leave a voicemail, and you're wondering, did I go in a black hole?
Right.
You know what I mean? But if somebody says during an appointment, they'll call you in 90 minutes, well, then you're okay. You'll just go get busy.
Yeah.
That's one of the most valuable things I find right there. If you're not going to do that, at least hire an answering service where you have a human being answer for you.
Exactly. Agree.
Great. Cool. So, well, that is pretty awesome. So, well, thanks for joining us. Again, my name is Rob Aubrey. I'm with Productive Agent. That's the name of the podcast. This is Productive Agent Podcast is powered by Aubrey Home Loans. So if you have any questions about loans, look into, maybe work with a loan officer like me, then call me. My number is 801-999-8209. Again, 999-8209. And we'll take good care of you. So that's it, boys and girls. Thanks for coming. We really appreciate you guys.